उधर सीएपीसी में 7वें जनशीत सिंह मेमोरियल व्याख्यान का आयोजन किया गया, जिसमें विदेश मंत्री एस जयशंकर ने शिरकत की है। उन्होंने क्या कुछ कहा है, आइए आपको सुनाते हैं।
Nations. Others are not indifferent, but are probably nimble enough to seek creative solutions to ensure security and stability. It is hard to predict where this will go, mainly because the nature of challenges themselves vary from region to region. Much as they would deny, most nations are relatively detached on matters that do not immediately impact them. A paradox of our times is that the interdependence of globalization coexists with the self-centeredness of prosperity. Who will step forward, to what degree, on which issue, is getting harder to gauge. Now, if all of this was not enough, let us also recognize that the very nature of power has changed. Application of force is less necessary now to exert influence. In fact, it is often counterproductive. Instead, we have seen the increasing leveraging of economic factors and of technology in world affairs. Sanctions are an extreme example. A more frequent one is to use market shares of everything from exports and imports, resources and services, debt and technology for political purposes. In fact, the very nature of globalization itself is today a national security concern for many of us. That is why we need reliable and resilient supply chains, trusted and transparent digital partners, a diversification of production centers, greater connectivity options. In fact, I would say a serious effort at fairer and more secure re-globalization. Only then can we de-risk not just the global economy, but international affairs itself. The role of rising nationalism in shaping world affairs must also be recognized. In those parts of the world where the old globalization mantra still prevails, nationalism is a bad word. But the truth is that they do reflect the frustration in many developed societies, where the quality of life has been eroded by bad geopolitical and geoeconomic choices. In the developing world, however, the picture is understandably very different. It was nationalism, after all, that triggered independence, growth, rebalancing, and led to multipolarity. In many societies, as these trends matured, more authentic representation took root. They naturally would like to extend rebalancing to its cultural facets as well. Like it or not, the world will be significantly more nationalistic in the foreseeable future. And that means greater individualism, a stronger sense of caution on external commitments, and a global architecture that will be considerably less disciplined. In this context, it is imperative that India clinically evaluate global happenings and calculate its benefits. Often, what is good for us as national interest is also good for the world. That arises partly from the tight connection that we have nurtured with the global south and the confidence that they repose in us. There are multiple divides and frictions in the world now, many of them overlapping. The fundamental one is between those powers competing for the top of the global hierarchy. In some cases, our interests are directly affected, and we should not be timid about making choices that benefit us. There will be occasions when we may not wish to be drawn in on terms that are set by others. By and large, the optimal approach would be to make our judgment and then seek common ground with similar players. From time to time, situations could arise where we may also have to just play our own hand. A multi-vector foreign policy with national security and CNP growth at its core is obviously the answer for India in these circumstances. The fact is that the fifth largest economy in the world, likely to be the third soon, with the kind of external interests that we have developed and will continue to grow, we cannot shirk responsibilities. In fact, it is very much in our interest that this uncertain world is stabilized to the extent possible by rules, by regimes, and by law. And equally important, we have a say in fashioning them. If Air Commodore Jagjit was here to strategize with us, my guess is that he would say, 1. Build core strengths and deep capabilities ASAP, especially for a world of chips, drones, space and underwater. Rashtra Suraksha is Atmanirbharta. 2. Focus on technology and related HR. Prepare for the era of AI that we have entered. Create the institutional capacities and practices for it. 3. Mitigate external exposure to leveraging by building multiple options. 4. Find convergent partners and advance specific agendas, no matter if they sometimes are at odds. Diplomacy will find a way. Trust us. 5. Leapfrog on capabilities, outthink on tactics, and don't be gamed. And 6. Fix the bane of all systems, that is siloed thinking. Integration, jointness, and holistic approaches are not just military challenges, but systemic ones as well. So let me conclude by saying this. The last decade has been very different in so many dimensions. The global landscape has changed and will continue to do so. India's primary concerns and challenges also have, reflecting that transformation. We are looking at new forms of competition that take advantage of high interpenetration